Good evening, Professor and fellow students. My name is Sam Kornman, and for my intergovernmental case study presentation, I'm choosing to talk about the funding of fire departments. When first determining whether this was vertical or horizontal, I said it was a little bit of both. It's federal to state, as in the federal government is in charge of funding grants for these departments, and the counties, from county to county, in charge of determining what tax money goes to funding these departments. So both levels are in play here. The actors involved in this situation are the federal government, state and local governments, fire departments, and the taxpayers that fund these departments, the people that are supposed to be helped by this fire community. Now, when applying the materials from the text and lectures within this course, I first looked into Module 1, Chapter 3, just as different types of government within our nation. It's important for me to understand what exactly they are, so I can then see what role they play in the situation at hand. For the federal government, I mainly looked into Congress and how big of a role they play and what grants go to these fire departments. In 2001, the National Defense Authorization Act was passed by them, determining that it was necessary for these departments to be funded with national money, with federal money. Without this, there wouldn't be any grants coming down from this level of government helping out departments, and we really don't know where it'd be without them. State's kind of self-explanatory, but at the lower level of counties, I didn't realize how important they were for this issue until looking into this module. Especially the commissioner within counties, determine what amount of tax money, local tax money, is given to these fire departments, so what they have to use, whether they have enough of the resources or not. We'll get a little bit more in depth with that later. Module 3, Chapter 8 is what I looked into next, just the spending clause. Talking about grants, this addresses the federal conditions for granting and funding money. It's pretty much saying all you got to do is be clear about what you're doing. It says everything has to be done unambiguously, nothing behind closed doors, everything visible to the public, just like the 2001 Act that I talked about before. It's still discussed within the last 2019 Congress report. That's how I got my information. Everything is online, available for the public to see, and in a situation where so much grant money is given out, this has to be done so the public knows what's going on. Then I looked into Module 4, Chapter 3, the Florida government, to look a little bit more in detail about the levels that I talked about before. The biggest thing I got from this was the importance of the commissioner within local county governments. Not only do they determine what tax money goes to these fire departments, but they have to provide the fire departments. They're in charge of all of that. The levying taxes, adopting the budget, providing and maintaining these buildings, and providing the public services. So it shows that there's a lot of different variables within just the local government that change the funding of these fire departments. There's not one set way that it has to be done. It's all based on what the commissioner determines as necessary, which can be problematic. So the material for the outside of this course, I used my experience from doing a firefighter ride-along, getting to look around the firehouse, talk to the people that had to deal with this on a day-to-day basis, and I came to understand that it wasn't just a federal fund that went to every fire department equally. Some are struggling a lot more than other ones. Lack of funding can result in lack of ability to hire people, lack of sufficient equipment, lack of things like fire trucks, just things you would take for granted, not knowing that a lot of departments don't even have the money for these. Now, this ends up being problematic in the fact that it prevents firefighters from doing their job. When put in the scene without the amount of personnel you need, without the tools you need, you will be put in a situation where you can't save a life when you're supposed to. So concluding thoughts, because of this class, I got to look deeper into an issue I care a lot about, the funding of these fire departments. I got to see that local government determines exactly what they get from the tax money. The federal government can help them out with grants if necessary, and that always working together. This is a changing system. Not one person is quite in charge, but they all kind of help each other out a little bit for a functioning fire department. Thank you so much.